Here we're going to look at specification for boneless legs of Scotch lamb. Here I have two Scotch legs of lamb, and the order was to come in boneless, and that's what I've got in front of me. But let's just look at some of the areas we need to consider when ordering a boneless leg of lamb, and is it exactly what I need for the job? If we take this one first, it's full and compact, it's strong, which I asked for, but so is this one. What we really need to do is go back a step and see what is going on inside to see if it is the criteria we want, or have we got a lot of things we don't need, or plate waste. So if we just take these and work on them separately, let's take this one first. I'm just going to remove the strings, but to look at it from the outside first, to me the strings are all over the place. These long taggy pieces, and I'm not saying all chefs do it, but I have seen lazy chefs that carve up to the string and then take it off. Well, when you've got long pieces, you have got the possibility that when you come to carve, you carve a bit of that string and that goes into the portion. It's something negative for the customer, and it's something that will always be remembered. So I would always specify that if I'm having something strong, I want the strings to be in a nice straight line with short ends. And the reason I ask to see the knots is so I know where they are, rather than having them tied underneath, whatever. But really we should be removing the strings after cooking prior to carving. But that doesn't always happen in the real world. So we'll just remove the strings, and let's just look at what we've got here in front of us. I'm going to pull that apart. So yeah, it does resemble a leg of lamb that I asked for, but it has, which is rather ragged, the knuckle or the shank end around the leg bone still got thick gristle, connective tissue in. It's a very coarse, hard working muscle. Really doesn't do any justice to the leg of lamb by being tucked in. So it looks here as though the supplier has boned out that leg, and rather than removing that coarse muscle and putting it in its right cooking category of stew or dice or mince, he's actually just folded that back in. There's no cut in there, so that is telling me the main leg bone has been removed from both sides, which we term as tunnel boning. So the knife would have gone in here and worked round the head of the bone, and then in there, and hopefully met in the centre. So we have got an actual tunnel. The worst thing about that is when the knife's going in, it's going in blind and you can't see what is happening. So we don't know what sort of damage is going on inside. So if I just open that up, let's see, and there it is very clearly, the amount of damage that's been done by that knife, basically to stop that cut being made, to keep it whole. I would rather see the leg cut through and opened up and the bone taken out nicely, because what we have to remember, the more deep cuts, slashes and incisions, the more meat juice is going to escape in the cooking process. And how do you get a decent slice from that when it's all ripped and ragged? Also in here, if I just peel that back, I can see very clearly that the large triangular wedge of fat that lies between the top side and the silver side muscles has still been left in. Now that you wouldn't get to see until you start carving, and especially if this is on a carvery at front of house, you're going to expose that in front of the customer. So that's not been removed. I can also see as well thick tendons and gristle from the shank meat. The thick silver core of the shank is still left in, so that's going to go hard in cooking. Tendons left from the other end. I turn that round. Excessive fat and gristle. You can see the white of that thick silver gristle from around the tail area, and I can also see remnants of bone cartilage from where the hip bone's removed. So even though it looked rather decent when it was tied up in a big lump, we have got a badly butchered leg of lamb. Let's look to the other one. Again, this was specified as an order as a boneless leg of lamb, but a little bit more information was given when ordering. It was that the lamb knuckle was to be removed, and so is the centre core gristle. So you can see there it has been removed. The bone was to be removed via the seam. So they've actually gone down the seam between the top side and the knuckle cleanly, and they've been able to remove the bone without major incisions and cuts. Also was specified that the large triangular wedge of fat was to be removed and to be no bone splinters or remaining cartilage. So basically we have a very poor version and a much cleaner, tighter, controlled version, and basically the difference was more communication with your supplier on getting and receiving what you wish to be serving in your restaurant. So that's a few pointing tips to look for when specifying a boneless leg of Scotch lamb.